The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com. Welcome into the Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
We're going to change things up a little bit. We seem to be talking about the Bulls an awful lot to start the show. And
for good reason.
For good reason, for sure, but it's kind of depressing. So we're going to switch gears and talk about the Blackhawks to start off the show. And Patrick Kane, man, he is on a roll. So is Jonathan Toews. They were struggling, to start the season, they were kind of struggling. And then
it wasn't that long ago that fans were calling for Jonathan Toews' head because he wasn't scoring goals or dishing out many assists. And I'm like, this is your captain that's led you to 3 Stanley Cups. He's going to heat up at some point. And
yeah,
he really has. He won the NHL's first Star of the Month for February. Recently, he just recorded a 5-point game against the Minnesota Wild that included a hat trick.
Right.
And then he had 2 assists against Arizona and then a goal and assist against St. Louis. He's had a lot of multiple point outings, and now he's up to 46 points in 54 games played, which is about on par, in terms of points per game with his career averages. He's got 16 goals and 30 assists. And he's doing it without as much help on at the top of the line. He's got Ryan Hartman. He's centering that top line with Ryan Hartman and Richard Panik, who had scored his 17th goal last night in which was a candidate for goal of the year, by the way.
I saw that.
Benji Malkin.
That was unbelievable, that goal. It looked like out of a video game.
It really did. I mean, it was a phenomenal move. He's really come into his own this season, especially with Toews up on that centering his line. He's got 17 goals and 17 assists with 34 points in 63 games played. So he's doing really well. Patrick Kane recorded his second hat trick in 3 games. He has 7 goals in his last 3 games. He's up to 27 goals and 41 assists on the season. That's 68 points in 63 games played. So he's also heating up. And just as a whole, the team looked really good last night. Now that they've traded for Johnny Oduya, he didn't play last night. That trade allows Seabrook to move back up to the top line with Duncan Keith. And I really like the Oduya move. He only traded a 4th-round pick plus Mark McNeil, who had just been with the organization too long. And it became kind of obvious he wasn't going to get a fair shot to make an impact on the team. And in getting Oduya back, you fix the mistake that you made by letting him leave 2 off seasons ago.
The Hawks have now won 5 games in a row. They beat the Sabres, they beat the Wild, they beat the Coyotes, they beat the Blues, and they beat the Penguins last night. So
and
the
majority of those games have been in convincing fashion, especially the Wild and the Penguins last night.
Yeah, and of course, it's always good to beat the Minnesota Wild because that's who you're chasing, for the division lead, and they're only 3 points back now, something like that, 2 points back. They're not far back at all, and they will play the New York Islanders Friday night.
And hopefully Corey Crawford will be healthy by then. He's sat out the past couple games with an illness.
Yeah,
and in his place, Scott Darling has played really well.
Yeah, he really has. I mean, is there a better 1-2 punch there? Is between Kane and Toews, and then Scott Darling and Corey Crawford? I mean, it really doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah. I mean, trying to think. I mean, the Capitals have it pretty good with Nicholas Backstrom and Alex Ovechkin, and then in goal you've got Braden Holtby and Patrick Grabauer.
Yeah. Taking a look at the central standings here, yes, the Blackhawks are 3 points back of Minnesota. They have 85. Minnesota has 88 points.
Now, how many games played has each team played?
They have. I think Minnesota has played 1 more game than the Hawks. It looks like.
Oh, not bad.
Something like that.
And it was a big trade.
I'm not good at math.
It was a big trade deadline, specifically the Central Division.
Oh,
the Minnesota Wild acquired Martin Hansel from the Arizona Coyotes, and this is a guy whose career high in goals is 16, has never had more than 45 points in a season, and he's a forward, and the Wild traded a 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round pick along with a prospect to get him.
Yeah, that's it's an interesting move.
I mean, I think that signals they're going all in.
I think so, yeah, and Of course, a lot of times it doesn't work out for teams when you do that, especially in hockey where there's so much parity.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Last year the Hawks went all in, trading for Andrew Ladd.
Right.
And then they got forwards Dale Weiss and Thomas Fleischman from the Montreal Canadiens. They gave up a second-round pick for those two guys and gave up a first-round pick and prospect in Marco Dano. They lost in the first round, lost in 7 games to the Blues. None of those guys made much of an impact in the playoffs. Ladd played well in the regular season. However, the year before that, when they won the Stanley Cup, they went all in, trading a first-round pick and Klaus Dahlback, a defensive prospect, for Antoine Vermette.
Yeah, that's right. They got Antoine Vermette.
And then they traded 2 second-round picks for Kimmo Timonen, who really the only thing he did was make it as a Cinderella story, hoisting the cup for the first time in his final season.
Didn't Antoine Vermette, didn't he get in trouble or something recently?
He did. He slashed a referee and got suspended for 10 games.
Yeah, that. I'm just glad he wasn't on the Hawks for that. That wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny though his impact that he made. He didn't score a goal in the regular season with the Blackhawks, and then once it came playoff time, he scored 3 game-winning goals. One of them was in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and then I believe it was Game 4. It was Game 4 or Game 5 against the Anaheim Ducks. He scored the winner in double overtime. I think it might have been Game 5. And that was a wild series.
Yeah, well, and that's what you get in hockey. You definitely get crazy series all around, pretty much.
Yeah, see, the thing between hockey and basketball that makes the playoffs so exciting is that there's not as much of a difference between the best teams and the bad teams. Like, on any given night, anyone can win a game.
Right.
Where in basketball, no one in the East is gonna beat Cleveland.
Probably not. Maybe the Celtics will give them a run for their money, but yeah, I
mean, the Raptors probably won't with Kyle Lowry out for the season.
Yeah, he might be back for the playoffs, but who knows?
They need him. I mean, it's just like when you already have a good feeling that it'll just be Golden State and Cleveland for the 3rd consecutive year in the finals.
Isn't that great? Isn't it just lovely?
See, we're in hockey. Any team can beat any team. When the Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup in 2010, that year the Washington Capitals had by far the most points in the league. By far. No one was even close to them.
Right.
They got upset by the 8th seed in the first round. They ran into a hot goaltender and lost.
That's why everyone's talking about how, the Washington Capitals, no matter how good they are, they'll always find a way to lose.
Yeah, they've had a history of struggling in the playoffs, and they loaded up at the trade deadline. The Blues traded Kevin Shattenkirk, probably one of the best defensemen in the league, to the Capitals. So they just got that much better. They got an elite defenseman, and I'm sure they're going to hope to re-sign him. I mean, they have a good team, except it comes down to the playoffs. Teams have been finding ways to beat them in a 7-game series.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's obviously, especially with Patrick Kane, the way he's playing, 2 hat tricks in 3 games. I mean, that's crazy. It sort of looks like the Hawks are really turning the corner and turning on the pressure, and I think they're going to finish the regular season pretty strong. Though they probably will pass up Minnesota. If not, again, it doesn't really matter.
As long as they keep playing the way they have been.
Yeah.
And I like that at the trade deadline they were able to get value in return without giving up a 1st or 2nd round pick.
Yeah.
They gave up a 3rd round pick for a young forward in Thomas Yurko, who's a restricted free agent at the end of the year. They pretty much are just taking a flyer on him, see if they can help unlock his potential, because he was an early draft pick for Detroit, never panned out. We'll see if Joel Quenneville can figure something out with him.
For sure. And I'm just excited that Johnny Oduya is back.
Exactly.
I mean, he was a big part of their Cups in 2013 and 2015.
He was, and as I said, you only gave up a 4th round to correct the mistake that they made of letting him leave. He should have been re-signed. The money that ended up going to Trevor Daley before they traded him.
Yeah.
Him, when they got him in the Patrick Sharp trade, they should, in my opinion, they should have just tried to maybe get some sort of draft pick instead, and then use that money to re-sign Oduya, because you could tell against the Blues they needed him. They were running on 3 defensemen, which that means you have only one pair that you can count on, one defensive pair that you could count on. You can't do that. The Hawks made it work in 2015 with 4 defensemen. I think they're deeper this year when you have Brian Campbell back on the 3rd defensive line. And with getting Oduya back, you get that shutdown line that him and Hjalmarsson had. Right now, Hjalmarsson's a little banged up, so we'll see what happens when the two of them reunite. Because it's really exciting, and depending on how he plays, you'd like to see if they can re-sign him to another one-year deal.
That would be great. And I mean, it all goes back to the management for the Hawks. I mean, I trust Stan Bowman with everything that he's going to do. Like all the moves, even if on paper you may not agree with it right away, it usually works out to be the right move, especially in years that they end up winning the cup, which they're trying to do again this year.
Right, and with Thomas Yurko, this is just kind of like a trade that you could find similar to when they acquired Richard Panik last year. A guy that had just lost his place with Toronto. Michael Handzus back in 2013 just kind of lost his place with the Sharks. They acquired him. He played well in the regular season. The rest of the regular season, then turned it on in the playoffs. And really, you're kind of really, when you're a team like the Hawks, you like being in the position where you're just looking for kind of some depth pieces that can step up, can and will step up, and we'll see if they get that in Thomas Yurko, and if Oduya can, and if Oduya and Hjalmarsson can be that shutdown line that they were a couple of years back.
Yeah, so obviously the Hawks are rolling right now, and we'll see how it ends up. They play the Islanders Friday night, another home game, and it'll certainly be exciting. We're going to take a break, and we'll come back, and we'll discuss the Chicago Bulls and all that stuff going on. We'll probably also talk a little bit of baseball somewhere in between there as well. You're listening to the Sports Renegades on SportsTownChicago.com. The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.